If I could have your attention in the media center, we're going to go ahead and get started with our media availability. We're now joined by Daniel Hemric, driver of the number 3 Smoky Mountain Herbal Snuff Chevrolet. Daniel, pretty big weekend here for you at Richmond with the Dash for Cash bonus and your first Cup start. Can you talk a little bit about your approach to this race?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot going on, to say the least. I definitely have a newfound respect for those guys that do double duty every week. It's been a lot to take in, but it surely has been a good time and a great problem to have, trying to figure out how to get to one place to the next and do it in a manner that you need to. So it's been fun. I think our 21 South Point Hotel Casino Chevrolet has been good since we got here. We've been trying to fine tune on to figure out what we got to do to try to make sure we have a shot at the end of tonight's race to run for the Dash for Cash and hopefully be able to help not only ourselves but a local organization, Co-Virginia nonprofit, that'll receive $10,000 from Comcast and Xfinity and help those families and everybody that's going to benefit from that. Be able to reach internet essentials, and that's the stuff they got to have. So that's cool. And on the other side of it, the Cup car just got out of it for the first time. It's been a lot of fun to be able to feel the differences. You can simulate and do all the stuff you want to do to try to prepare for a moment like this, but there's nothing like doing it, in real time. So having a lot of fun. Those guys have done a great job with our number 8 Smoky Mountain Herbal Snuff Chevrolet to allow us to unload, make me feel comfortable, let me go through practice, make changes, and do the stuff you need to do, feeling it all out for the first time. And I'm just trying to, more than anything else, just enjoy the weekend.
Awesome. Well, thank you. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. All right, we'll start up here up front and work our way to the back.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. Now that your Cup debut is really here, do you anticipate having any extra nerves or battling anything different when you get to race time tomorrow?
Heck, I'm 27 years old, right? So it's 22 years in the making to try to figure out how to get to this stage. I didn't know exactly how I'd feel. I thought I'd be a little bit more nervous than what I've felt. But I think between getting in the Xfinity car, having time on the racetrack, and then just running straight over and jumping in the Cup car, I think it's made the transition as easy as possible. And then it's, by lap 4 or 5 on the racetrack, it was a matter, okay, I need more front turn, I need more rear grip, and all the basic stuff you try to ask out of a race car as a driver. So I think that's helped kind of calm the nerves, and staying busy has kept all that stuff kind of in check as well. And like I said earlier, it's been a lot going on, but it's been fun.
Matt Weaver, AutoWeek.com. 2 questions for you. One, who all from the family, your support group, who's all here to be a part of this?
Yeah, so obviously you remember them, Jake Indiana Carswell, a team that I drove Super Late Models for out of the Woodstock, Georgia area for years and years. I was very pumped up to hear that they were able to make it out here. I got my dad and my grandparents, my mother, stepdad. I got probably 60 or 70 fans, family and fans in the grandstands coming tomorrow just to be part of the debut deal. So just really special because I have, at some point in the last 10 days, I've talked to just about every car owner I've had throughout the ranks that all somewhere along the way led to me having this shot. So it's cool to have a majority of those people here.
Is Brandon your spotter?
He is my spotter. Absolutely, thankfully.
I want to go back a little further in time. I had heard a story in passing going back to the Legends Million that nearly didn't happen because did you have like a car issue on the way there or something? Is that true?
About ran out of gas.
Okay.
Didn't have enough money to buy gas to get there. Yeah, I remember Don Hawk when we won the Legends Million that night. He asked me, he says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I got holes in my tennis shoes, and I'm going to take the gas out of the race car to put it in my Honda to get home because that $250,000 check didn't go through for a couple of weeks." So it's little stuff like that makes you appreciate this weekend.
Yeah, so that's my question is how close were you to not getting there, and how different is your career if you don't win that, because that kind of propelled you into the national spotlight?
Yeah, I think, at the time, that being broadcast live on national television and obviously Bruton Smith involved and Marcus Smith, everyone at SMI, and they did that as big as possible, right? And when you do that, obviously the word of mouth and everything travels, and it made that event even that much bigger. So obviously to go on and to win that race, it just put me in a different spotlight. You're always and forever be known as that guy that won that one-time race. So it definitely pushed me in the direction I needed to go. But even after that, I didn't know what that path was. It was just a matter of, hey, if opportunity comes from this, I'm going to have to take whatever is available, and that's kind of the way it went. That led me towards, driving for Jeff Foltz, and then down the road to drive for Cars and Motorsports, Hoyt Demas, Rich Clark, all the different people that are here this weekend. And yeah, I mean, that race definitely didn't hurt any of that stuff, but a lot of other stuff had to fall in place, and that's kind of been the story of my entire upbringing is, not knowing the path or having a path set in place. It was just taking whatever opportunity and making the most of it, and that race led to a lot of opportunities.
We're going back to Jerry, and then to Chris and Lee.
Jerry Jordan, KickTheTires.net and PRN. Last weekend, kind of a roller coaster of emotions for you. What were your thoughts when you after the race, you found out, you wouldn't be in this, and then now you are in this, and what do you think? What went through your head?
Yeah, there's a lot that went on in that probably 12-hour span. We went through the race. We led laps, had a really good car, and we faded at the end of the race. And luckily, we had a short run that led us to have an opportunity to lock ourselves into the Dash for Cash. All to find out when we get back, those guys get through tech, I get changed just to find out that, hey, we're not in it. So that was disappointing, and I thought it was a little interesting because the way it was put out immediately was, I believe it was a measurement violation, and it wasn't strictly a rear toe or a skew or none of that stuff. So I thought NASCAR was a little on the fence about how to word it because they weren't exactly sure of the rule. And we carried on with business and tried to get a plan to figure out what we were going to do when we come to Richmond as a team, and started the process of maybe or maybe not appealing it. And that's when we got the call from Wayne Alton the next morning. I know Wayne personally called me at about 8:30 that next morning and said, hey, man, I first off want to apologize to you personally, and secondly, let you know that you're back into the Dash for Cash. All your results at Bristol stand. And then he went on to explain the difference of only one side being out versus the other, and it wasn't to an extreme that puts it into that L1 range or L2 penalty range. So not the phone call I expected to get at 8:30 Sunday morning, right? It was still a pretty downhill slide from the way things and the results and the way it all had went down Saturday. So definitely turned my Sunday into a good day, and we're thankful to be here racing for Dash for Cash again.
We'll go next to Chris.
Chris Knight, CatchFence.com. Daniel, what's a realistic expectation for tomorrow night for your Cup debut, and how do you feel about the Xfinity car? Do you feel like that a win is around the corner for RCR?
Yeah, first off, talking about tomorrow's Cup debut, I think coming here, I wanted to first off get through practice, right? No issues. Just try to be smooth, try to be solid, and I feel like we've done that. Now we have qualifying ahead of us, and that's the next goal. But in the race, I think if we can get a decent qualifying position, I'd like to be able to see ourselves at the end of 400 laps, being able to compete inside the top 25, top 20. I think if we can do that as a group with, it only being, a one-off race right here, obviously we're going to come back at it again in the fall at a road course, but, it's tough to do. It's tough to bring guys out of the shop and know what the expectations are. So that's why I said we got to take it step at a time. That's what we've done so far. I think if we can run inside the top 20, we hit a home run.
We'll go next to Lee.
I think I left out part of your question there, Chris, about the Xfinity car. Yeah, I think I told everybody this week that I talked to media-wise that I think we've done all the right things as a team to be that much better every single week. And as we've done that, that's put us in a situation where we're leading more laps. We've got more speed through practice, through qualifying. And when you do that, that's what you have to do in order to even deserve to win races. I don't want to win races off fuel mileage. At this point, I'll take it whatever I can get. But what we're doing is allow us to win when we do win and win on speed. And that's something I'm proud of, to see the organization take that turn. And I think we're still that much off, but we're close enough now to kind of, I guess, pounce on somebody else's mistakes, and we've done a good job putting ourselves in that position to take that chance if we're put in that situation.
Do you feel like you're bucking the trend being a rookie at 27?
I think so. A little bit. I saw where Jeff Burton told Ryan Preece last week he won his first Cup race at 30 years old, so that gave me a little bit more confidence that I was on the right path. But yeah, I mean, it goes back to what I was telling Matt. I never had a path or an age set or whenever I want to get there. I've just been fortunate to be able to continue that uphill climb, and I know the trend is 17, 18 years old, you got to be in a top 3 series and doing it full time, but I'm just doing it the way it was provided to me and trying to make the most of it.
And in a sport where we're seeing a lot more buy rides, you've just been able to hold your own by coming in and performing. Is there still a path like that for people who potentially would like to get in through late models, through dirt, whatever?
Yes, it's not going to be easy, but the path, I feel like I've proven that it can still happen. If you would ask me, I'd be in this spot even 2-3 years ago, even when I was running trucks. I said there ain't no way I'm gonna continue to get older, and I'm not sure how to put myself in any better position. It's just making the most of that opportunity. So I think that's no different than the mindset I had through short track racing, through late models and all that. It's making the most of that. And you know, at the end of the day, nobody knows your story better than you know it. So I know what I put in. I know I put the effort in, and I always said if it didn't work out, it wasn't going to be because of me or because of lack of effort, that I was going to do my part. And if it worked out, great. If it didn't, it wasn't meant to be. And fortunately, here we are.
We'll go next to Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. You've raced with Cup drivers in your show. How different do you think it will be at Richmond at night with the, you know, Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series versus the Xfinity Series in the way that they will race on a Saturday night at Richmond?
I just think that all those guys are really good. I think that's the difference is, you know, the disparity between, you know, between first to 30, whatever, in the Xfinity race is pretty big gap. I mean, at times, especially depending on the racetrack. And when you take that next step, and even in practice, I've noticed it being around other cars on the Cup side, that is shrunk way down. So every little thing, all the little details that you focus on the Xfinity side, but now you're going to be the one that can also make that little bit tiny difference. So you got to make sure you do your part. And those guys, everybody's just good. So I think it's just a matter of racing them the same. I don't think they're going to they race any different even when they come race with us. It's just a matter of the field's that much tighter when you get to this level. And you know, what mistake either you or your team makes that could cost you 2 or 3 spots in the Xfinity side will cost you 10 or 15 on the Cup side. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing I got to pay attention to, and it's probably going to catch me off guard at some point during the race, and just got to be ready to capitalize or just move past it.
Are you thinking that the Xfinity drivers are more aggressive, or that they're smoother on the Cup side, less aggressive, aggressively smooth, or what?
I think aggressively smooth is a good way to put it. They know, just like any form or any racetrack we go to, right? Restarts are key and all that stuff, but they also know they're going to run 400 laps. The pace for the Cup car obviously falls way off compared to the Xfinity car because of the power and all the difference between the two series. So, you know, most of those guys, my crew chief on the Cup side reminded me a minute ago, I was trying to find speed. I was trying to figure out what I needed to make more speed, and he said, let me remind you, man, you're racing against guys that are 200, 300, 400 starts into this deal. So he's been trying to keep me in check on that, but as a racer, you want to figure out how to be better. But, you know, it's been cool to have a lot of really good guys to lean on, you know, between my teammates, Austin and, you know, and Ryan, and same thing with Kyle. I've reached out to Kyle a couple of times this week trying to figure out what I need to be decent here, and all those guys have been gracious enough to help me, and I reach out to them for a reason because they're the best at it.
Do we have any further questions for Daniel? All right. Well. Oh, go ahead. Caleb.
Caleb Whistler, kicking the tires. Kind of looking at the Xfinity series, what does it mean for you to have a sponsor like Xfinity promoting you guys and being here every week on the track, at the track?
Yeah, it's everything. I think their involvement speaks for itself. I mean, we're running 4 races here back to back, paying $100,000 not only to us, but $10,000 to every local community to help that low-income family housing, you know, reach internet. All that's huge, and to know that they have that much support and how much they let us be ourselves, but also push our names and try to do the right things to help us and the sport move forward, that's huge. So to know that we can be a part of a series and have Xfinity and Comcast and their support, it's unbelievable to know that they're behind us like they are. So as a driver, that makes you go out, that makes you want to push their product, it makes you, you know, make sure you're proud of what they do and what they represent. And I'm definitely thankful to be here and part of the Xfinity series.
Any further questions? All right. Well, thank you so much, and good luck this weekend. All right, we're now joined by Kyle Busch, driver of the number 18 M&M's Flavor Vote Toyota. We have a very brief time with Kyle today, so we're going to get in as many questions as we can. Kyle, coming off a great weekend at Bristol, can you talk a little bit about your strategy for this weekend?
Well, we got some practice sessions in there, so, you know, feel okay about it. Not great, not exactly where we remember being here a few years ago when we had cars that were up front leading laps and feeling pretty comfortable at being able to do that, you know. So just a little bit too much slipping and sliding for our liking, but we'll see if ours is any less than anybody else out there, that we can be one of the best cars for the race here on Saturday night.
All right, we'll start with Claire and work our way to the back.
Claire B. Lane, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Kyle, for a guy like Daniel Hemric moving into the Cup Series, I was just asking him about how different the Cup drivers race on the Cup side of things. How different do you think it will be between the two? How aggressively different, or how will the racing be different?
Yeah, the racing's definitely different from Xfinity to Cup, and obviously that elevated experience level as well as just talent level is why the Cup Series is what it is. It's not easy. I remember going from running some ARCA Series races to Xfinity Series races, some truck races, and each step is just kind of like a little bit more, and then it's like Xfinity to Cup is all three of those together in one. It's a big deal. So he's obviously ready for the opportunity. I think he's done a really good job. Maybe not has scored as many wins as he would have wanted to in truck or Xfinity competition, but I think talent pool wise, I've seen him race in late models. I've seen what he can do in those things, and he's made a name for himself in being able to come up through these ranks and hasn't caused chaos while doing that. He's done it really, really clean. He's raced his competitors as well as you can ask of anybody to race their competitors. I think the only thing lacking is just the win column. So I think Daniel's a great kid, and look forward to seeing what he can do at the next level.
We'll go to the back.
Lane Castellante, CBS 6 here in Richmond. Kyle, is there a different kind of confidence that you and your team have when you get on a roll like you are right now over the last 2 weeks?
Not really. Maybe somewhat, yes. I mean, of course, anytime you're running well and you're in the top 2, top 3, and you're winning races, then you know that things are kind of going your way, and you can go to the racetrack with some optimism and some momentum that that can keep you running up front like that. When you have some finishes that kind of derail it, you go in finishing 14th or 10th or 8th or 14th or 10th or whatever, then you kind of get knocked back a little bit, and you kind of don't quite have the wind in your sails that you want. And so I would say that it's obviously better showing up to the racetrack running top 3 each week.
Kyle, Mark Davis from Channel 12 NBC here in Richmond. You're getting your first look at the fresh new garages out there for you guys. Just curious on your thoughts on those. And of the few people we've caught up with have said you're not on top of each other, and it's nice to have that space, I guess.
Yeah, the space is certainly nice. Definitely for the guys and the crew guys and the guys, everybody that works in the garage area. I remember one of my crew guys here a few years ago, when you jack a car up, the cars were so tight together that you couldn't really jack the car very well. And the jack actually dropped while his arm was in between the tire and the fender, and he pinched his arm really bad and had to go to the hospital. So, the situations that we have with workable conditions is a heck of a lot more pleasing. But, I think the cut-throughs and the bathrooms and the walk-arounds and stuff like that, we talked a few weeks ago, like, what's the problem with getting through inspections and whatnot? You now have to push all the way around in order to go through inspection here. So inspections here are going to take just as long as a Pocono or a Michigan or somewhere else because there's so far to go.
We'll go next here.
Mike Massey with FrontStretch.com. Last night you kind of cut Denny some slack there at the end, raced him clean, and if the roles are reversed tomorrow night, do you expect him to race you the same way, or do you feel like he owes you one, or what's the situation there?
I don't know. No telling. Situations are different in any race, I guess. Obviously the way things kind of went down between he and I at the All-Star race years ago were pretty ugly. And then, the way myself and Carl, it happened here a few years ago was certainly not the way I expected it in that situation. So, I guess teammates, you want to have each other race each other clean, race each other with respect, and be able to pass each other clean. But when your cars are so equal like they were last night, I just didn't see like I was going to have an opportunity to be able to do it unless we got through traffic, and I got through traffic a little bit differently than he did, and cut him some slack with some lap cars a couple times there, and then I got into the fence a little bit, and from there I didn't have enough to pass him anyways. So thought I had one more opportunity with a couple more lap cars ahead that we were going to catch, and it just didn't transpire. So, that's how I think you're supposed to do it, and so that's why I did it that way.
All right, Kyle in the back here, Sean Robertson, CBS 6 here in Richmond. What is it about this track that has given you so much success over the years?
Well, the success is almost forgotten. It's been so long ago. So, we certainly want to get back to our winning ways and doing a better job of being up front and winning here at Richmond. We're just kind of missing a little bit. There's some rule changes years ago that had some things kind of taken away from our camp and things that we were doing that made us a little bit better than our competition, and we haven't quite figured out what was left in order to make ourselves better than the tools that we had at that time. So still some work to do.
Kyle Hank Kurz with AP. I think a lot of people were fascinated to listen to your podcast with Dale Earnhardt this week. Do you think people were surprised by the Kyle Busch they heard on there? Was it therapeutic for you? And what kind of feedback have you gotten since that?
I would say it was just something funny that actually came to us by Gluck. He asked us to do kind of a reenactment or a remembrance of that night and kind of what was going down. So we did the remembrance of that night, but Dale and I wanted to take it a little bit farther and expand on why 2008 was kind of the blow-up moment at Richmond, I guess. And so we kind of went back and we've been friends, acquaintances, friendlier competitors with one another over the course of the last 3, 4, 5 years. I guess it was probably 2012, 2013 when we started to talk a little bit more and kind of get over our differences some. And it seemed like the other night was just kind of, or the other morning, it was morning, was an opportunity for us to just put it all to bed and be done with it. And maybe some of our fans, mine and his, could kind of put it to bed and be done with it and move on and live the rest of our lives in peace, I guess. But I wouldn't say it was therapeutic. It was just fun. It was something to do. I don't think many drivers have ever done that if they've not done it publicly like that in that fashion. It was way, 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 way long overdue. And maybe the 08 incident maybe never would have happened, as we talked about in the podcast, if if some situations kind of were done a little bit differently between he and I, back before that situation. So I think it was fun. It was good. We've already got another idea for another podcast here coming up, maybe in next year or two.
All right, we'll go next to Jeff up front.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. At the beginning of the year when Harvick was on a roll, everybody's like, oh, he's going to be, this year's Truex. He's fast every week. Now you've been on a roll, and it's like maybe you're this year's Truex. Are you guys better than the 4 right now?
I think we're pretty equal. Honestly, I think I gotta give them the notch a little bit. I think they're a little bit better than we are. I think Larson's right there as well too. I think he may actually be in the mix as well. So, the 42 was strong last week. I think the 42's strong this week. He's the fastest car certainly on the short run in practices thus far here at Richmond. So it's just going to be a fight to the end. I think that we kind of saw the guys, the main players kind of rise to the top last year through the end of the regular season and through the playoffs, and I think those same guys are kind of the top guys right now with some few more mixed in. Now I think Denny's getting better. I think Kurt's getting better. I think a couple of the Hemric cars will start showing their speed here probably in the next 3 months or so, I would predict, and we'll see what happens with how it all goes down between now and then.
And Kyle, I can't help but notice this awesome helmet. Can you talk a little bit about your helmet for the race?
Absolutely. So we did this last year. It's Infertility Awareness Week, and so Samantha and I, obviously, with what we did with the IVF journey that we had in order to conceive our son Brexton, we've kind of started this tradition thanks to the help and allowment of the Mars folks to wear this helmet with running their scheme on the race car. It's the Bundle of Joy Fund from the Kyle and Samantha Busch Foundation that we're going to sell $18 raffle tickets, 3,000 of them, and we're going to raffle this helmet away. And last year the tickets were all sold out within 48 hours. So it went really, really quick. So anybody can go to kylebuschfoundation.org. There's also a link on my website, kylebusch.com. That'll get you there in order to purchase tickets. But the cool thing about this helmet, we kind of came up with the concept a little bit last year. We only did 3 photos last year, but obviously Brexton growing up and so many things that he's into these days, this is a year's worth of photos. So Brexton from all over the place, him playing doctor at the house to in Victory Lane being thrown up to getting his hair cut to anything you can imagine being thrown up in Victory Lane, and hanging out at the beach and hanging out in Victory Lane. So a lot of cool little things here. It's just kind of, a year's worth of what Brexton's been doing. So it's pretty cool to be able to have that on the helmet, and some lucky winner will get that by May 4th.
Awesome. And we have time for one more question for Kyle. we'll go back here to read.
And I've got a short one. Kyle, what was your reaction to getting the text from Larson saying that Owens had asked for the Skittles?
Yeah, yeah. I asked Larson if they were going to be here this weekend, I'd bring him over a whole box, and he said no, that it's time for Caitlin to stay home. So that was pretty funny. It's cool that many of these drivers' kids like the Candyman, so they certainly know what's up. And whether it's the paint schemes or whether it's the personality, I'm not sure which, but certainly. Cash is one of those guys, and Owen's one of those guys. So pretty neat that those guys were wondering where the Skittles were. I was wondering where the McDonald's was there during the rain delay, to be honest with you. So we can certainly work together on that front, and maybe work some B2B deals. But it's cool that these kids are interested in the candy aspect. So they know where to come. They know what bus to find.
Great.
Huh? He's kind of like me, he does it in moderation. He's good about it. He doesn't have to have M&Ms all the time. He doesn't have to have Skittles all the time, so he's pretty good about it. Certainly we've got the Flavor Vote car. I know you guys, many of you have gotten some of the sample sizes, the fun sizes here of our different flavors of espresso, raspberry, and mint. I'd have to go on the record and say that my favorite is mint. Kind of reminds me a little bit of our double mint car, if you will, and having some of those races and some of those victories in that car. So, and my green machine, the crispy car that I won. These are the crunchy, now they're crunchy M&M version with all these flavors. So they're pretty good. Give them a shot, give them a try, and also make sure everybody vote your favorite, because this summer and this fall one of them will be chosen in order to be in stores near you.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate your time, Kyle, and good luck this weekend.
You got it. Thanks.